Since the late 1920s, film has been just as much an audio medium as it is a visual one. While I've already made a separate video talking about the sound effects side of audio in movies, let's not forget the most iconic aspect of film audio: the music. Music in films often plays a vital role in setting the tone, communicating intended emotions, just being nice to listen to on its own, and with the latter category, the easiest way to achieve that is with a good old-fashioned main theme. Lots of movies have them, but not all are created equal, and not all are celebrated equally either. Some great film music gets the recognition it deserves, and some just has yet to. With this video, I'm going to go over 10 film themes that I feel are worthy of more attention. This list is in no particular order. I'm judging the quality of the music, not the movies they're attached to. I am not a professional music critic. This list is purely based on opinion. You've heard it before, let's just do this. Night at the Museum is a movie that I have a lot of nostalgia for, and while I can't personally speak to how the movie holds up since it's been years since I last saw it, I can say that the main title by Alan Silvestri is pretty great. Really, given who it's coming from, that shouldn't be a surprise. Silvestri has given film score enthusiasts so much over the years, but given how prolific he is, it's no surprise that some of his work has gotten lost in the shuffle, even if it really shouldn't. Night at the Museum is a classic, whimsical fantasy theme that matches the film's quite classically whimsical premise really well. It does everything it needs to do, and it's a distinctive and memorable theme that actually sticks with you. And that's what separates great music from functional music. Some music isn't meant to be listened to by itself. In film, the main point of an underscore is to enhance the atmosphere and presentation of the film. If it does that, it's done its job. If it goes above and beyond and is memorable and good divorced from the accompanying film, then it's done its job and then some. Movie themes like this go above and beyond the Call of Duty and may even eclipse the films they're attached to. Bottom line, it's a great, if underrated theme from Silvestri that you should listen to if you're into fantasy scores. Really switching gears here from a 15-year-old Hollywood blockbuster to an over 50-year-old Italian horror movie. But great themes come in all shapes and sizes, and the main track for Mario Bava's A Bay of Blood is definitely one of them. Like the movie, it's simple, stylish, and in some ways pretty influential. I mean, one could make the case that this theme bears a resemblance to the minimal, atmospheric themes of Friday the 13th and the like. And it maybe wouldn't be as strong a case as saying how groundbreaking the rest of the movie was, but you could still make it. Beyond the possible inspiration, the theme matches the moody, tense vibe of the film well. There's something foreboding but strangely beautiful and artistic about it, just like we want our giallo proto-slasher movies to sound. The rest of the score is a touch hit or miss, but this theme is excellent and definitely makes for good, late-night moody listening. Assuming anyone actually does that. Yeah, I know these movies are stupid. Batman and Robin especially is reviled as being one of the final nails in the coffin that put the superhero genre into a coma for several years. I get that, and I'm not denying any of it. But one thing about the Schumacher-Batman duology that I will always defend is the score by Elliot Goldenthal, and especially his main Batman theme. While topping the pre-existing Elfman or Walker themes for The Dark Knight is next to impossible, Goldenthal did a solid job of trying to get across a similar vibe while still being distinct. I especially think his theme fits more with Batman Forever, which had a little bit more of that dark weirdness left over from the Burton films, but was still very clearly Schumacher's vision. That's also true of this theme. It's intense, but a bit more colorful and out there, and it really sounds good. Is it the best Batman theme? God no, not by a long shot. But it's a memorable one, and dare I say, one more worthy of The Dark Knight than either of the films it was attached to. James Horner was just such a beast when it came to film music. Seriously, it's been nearly a decade and I still kinda can't believe he's gone. But that's all the more reason to celebrate his work now, and wow, is there a lot to celebrate. He's done a lot of good scores, but as far as underrated ones go, there's still plenty to choose from. Whether it's Mighty Joe Young, Deep Impact, or even one of his later ones like The Amazing Spider-Man. But instead, I'm going in the opposite direction to take a peek at an earlier work of his, the Roger Corman-produced space opera, Battle Beyond the Stars. As one of his earlier scores, you can clearly see the seeds being planted for his later work, especially his Star Trek scores. It's a similar vibe, but distinct enough for it to not blend into the lineup. It's just a wonderful, classically triumphant theme very fitting of the genre, but there's really not much more for me to say. James Horner's style is near irreplaceable. While I wouldn't even say this is my favorite of his 80s themes, and honestly I personally think he peaked in the 90s, it's definitely worth listening to for the sheer fact that it's all here. In one theme, you can sense pretty much everything that made Horner so great. It may be in need of a little refinement, but it's still a great listen. The second live-action Guyver movie, to those who have even heard of it at all, is generally regarded as one of the better live-action anime adaptations. And I mean, when you've got the voice of Solid Snake as your main lead, how bad could it be, right? As for this video, the main theme of the film, composed by Les Claypool, the third, no, not the founder of Primus, is pretty damn good too. It's got that great 90s dark superhero vibe that I just praised the Schumacher Batman theme for keeping, and while it does sound a tad cheap, like you can tell the guy wasn't working with a full orchestra or anything, it just sounds so cool that I didn't really mind. There's a little bit of that 90s industrial sound mixed with the faux orchestra music that I think makes for a good combo. You can imagine this kind of music working with a lot of dark anti-hero type characters, but it remains distinct and memorable, and it really sticks with you after hearing it. If a theme can sell you on a movie and get you interested by listening to it, then it's clearly doing its job. And the theme for the Guyver Dark Hero is definitely in that camp. Moving right into a film that had no shortage of a large-scale orchestra to work with, and really did all it could with it, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Bernard Herrmann is a real composer's composer, contributing so many classic themes to a bunch of highly regarded pieces of cinema history. The guy did the music for Citizen Kane of all movies. I mean, only one guy in history could truthfully say that, and it is Bernard Herrmann. But one of his underappreciated themes has to be his one for the 1957 sword and sorcery film, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. No, not that Sinbad, the original Sinbad, who himself has a pretty solid history of great composers contributing great themes to his cinematic outings. I almost considered putting the theme for Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas here, but this one just barely edged it out simply for the fact that this movie is older, and I'm more worried about this film and its theme fading into the ether. This score is just awesome, and I love big, epic, heroic movie soundtracks. You can tell from the short sample I played that this more than qualifies. Films that were produced and had their effects work done by Ray Harryhausen tend to have pretty good music. Personally speaking, this is my very favorite main title to any of Ray's films. I should probably review this movie sooner or later. Oh, John Carpenter. It's not often someone is able to claim to be both a popular director, writer, producer, and composer, but some people really do set out to be a jack of all trades, master of some. I'd say our boy John fits well into that category. While most of the themes are pretty cool, the main title for his 1994 film In the Mouth of Madness trades subdued coolness for in-your-face bad assness. Technically, as with many of these scores, Carpenter was not alone in creating the theme. In this instance, he collaborated with fellow composer Jim Lang. Their combined talents turned out great. It kind of sounds like an instrumental of a pre-existing song that originally had lyrics, but I don't really see that as an insult. In short, this theme is rockin'. It sounds like a rock song and not a film theme. I mean, it just goes all in being that. Not sure how well it entirely fits with the movie, but hey, this is about the themes, not the films they accompany, and In the Mouth of Madness is a really great tune. In many ways, it's John's most against type theme of his whole career, but you could argue that's what makes it the best. I don't know if I'd quite go that far, but it's definitely up there. Then again, what isn't with Carpenter? I swear I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't realize how many superhero themes would be on this list, but seeing as how there is, I gotta say, the Billy Zane Phantom theme is a solid action-adventure track that shows its composer is capable of far more than he sometimes lowers himself to. The theme here was composed by David Newman, and yes, if that last name sounds familiar, that's because David is the older brother of fellow composer Thomas Newman, and also the son of Alfred Newman and the cousin of Randy Newman. They're a very music-heavy family, those Newmans. Anyway, unlike his brother, David mostly sticks to comedy scores, and if that's what he wants to do, then so be it. But his work on films like Anastasia or The Phantom show that he can do the dramatic and adventurous stuff too. It's sad that the main action part couldn't have been a little longer, but it goes long enough to appreciate it, and the rest of the track isn't bad. If it's good enough to endow someone that looks like this with some level of badassery, then it's gotta be doing something right. Seriously though, I understand the rationale of wanting to stay comic accurate, but this is just silly. Actually, it's a comic book movie, not sure why I said that. This is probably the theme attached to the most obscure movie on the list outside of Guyver 2, so I'm gonna have to give some extra context for this one. Death Machine is a 1994 science fiction movie that was written and directed by the same guy who helmed Blade and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is either a really good or bad sign based on how you feel about either of those movies. Anyway, Death Machine might be his best work, and it owes some of that to the awesome industrial theme composed by Crispin Merrell. I don't think I've ever heard of another movie this guy did the music for, but if this is any indication, then I might have to seek some out just based on that alone. Admittedly, my affection for this theme may come from the fact that I just really like industrial music. I know it's not for everybody, but I've always thought it sounded really cool, and this movie's main title is a great example of it. We don't actually hear the theme play out in its entirety until the end credits, if I remember correctly, but it's worth the wait because it sounds awesome and very fitting of the title Death Machine. I mean, you just hear that title, and I'd imagine this is pretty close to the theme you come up with in your head. With the current zeitgeist all surrounding synthwave and 80s homages, I do sort of hold out hope that one day things will move forward and modern music will start harkening back to 90s industrial stuff for inspiration. It might be a fool's wish, but I'm still holding out. Who am I kidding? We'll never be able to move on from the 80s. The movie itself is an interesting horror cyberpunk fusion of Alien, the Terminator, and Die Hard. So if that sounds like your idea of a good time, then give it a watch. I'm pretty sure the full thing is on YouTube, and likewise, if this theme literally sounds like your idea of a good time, then that's just one more reason to watch the movie. The Meteor Man is a silly movie. What started as a valiant effort by filmmaker and comedian Robert Townsend to make a superhero movie with a predominantly black cast and a positive message turned into a kind of confused and awkward affair that does have its fans, and if there's anything I personally can say about it, it's that the main title, composed by Cliff Eidelman, is a kick-ass and supremely underrated superhero theme. Eidelman himself is a bit of a sleeper composer anyhow. He's probably best known for his score for Star Trek VI, which is a great score that rivals some of the previous films, but I think Meteor Man has a lot of that similar appeal, with the benefit of being its own original thing. As the last superhero theme on this list, I have to say that it is easily the most classic sounding. It's clearly steeped in a lot of that John Williams Superman-esque type cues, but it manages to be memorable and not overly derivative. Even though the film itself is leaning more towards the superhero comedy type vibe, The theme has no indication that it's anything other than just a straight up classic superhero movie. It's pure heroism in musical form. More than anything, it's memorable and it's hummable. I can recall the tune to it and already could after only hearing it a couple times. There's really only so many ways I can put this, so I'm just gonna play a little more of it to help demonstrate my point. Yeah, it's a great heroic theme that more than outdoes a lot of other modern superhero title tracks, and in doing a list of underrated film themes, you gotta point out a movie like this as being more than worth a second look. Before we wrap up, I want to give a special mention to the channel Brandon Tenold. I've talked about this guy a couple times before, but for this video, I especially have to mention that I wouldn't have heard of half the movies I featured the themes of in this video if it weren't for him. So thanks for that, dude. You gave me content. Alright, that's all I've got. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go listen to all these themes again, and if you're motivated to do the same after watching this, then I'll know I've done something right. Hey there, looks like you've made it to the end of the video. I guess that means you must have really liked it, huh? Well, if you did, I'd appreciate you showing me some support by maybe liking the video, or disliking it, your choice, sharing it around to friends or anyone you know who might get a kick out of it, checking out more videos, which will show up in a bit, and of course, subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell icon to be notified about more content like this. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and until next time, see ya.